WATD presents John Paul, the Car Doctor. All things automotive. Have questions? Call 781-837-4900. Now, here's John Paul, the Car Doctor.
And good Sunday morning, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Car Doctor program on 95.9 WATD. My name is John Paul, the Car Doctor, here to help you with your car problems, car decisions. Well, anything to do with vehicles we'll try to help you with. Listening to the weather, it looks like we have a little bit of snow coming. For some reason, I saw the weather in Providence this morning. They're predicting 8 inches of snow. Might hit areas of Rhode Island over the next couple of days. So I guess it can vary a lot where you're going to live. And it seems like people forget a little bit about how to drive in the snow. People sometimes, I think, get a little too confident, especially with all the all-wheel drive vehicles that are available today. So with us on the phone is Chris Komar. He is an instructor at the Team O'Neill Rally School up in New Hampshire. And in addition to learning about rally school, we're going to learn a little bit about winter driving. Chris, good morning, and thanks for joining us on the program.
Good morning, John. How are you?
I am just fine. So let's talk a little bit about you first. Rally school driver.
Okay.
How is that something like being the Stig?
Well, we have a few of those up here right now, but in our own sort of way. We're more on the gravel than pavement.
And how do you get to become a rally school driver?
Oh boy, kind of in the right place at the right time, or kind of looking for the job. Myself, it was just total luck in the lark. And
your background, when you first came to work for O'Neill, you were doing some of the repairs on the cars, right?
Well, I had worked as a mechanic my whole life in the off-road world and the streetcar world, and I got hired originally as a rally car mechanic back in 2002, and then that's when I sort of moved into the instructional world also with him.
And the working on rally cars, you must have seen some major wear and tear on those vehicles.
Oh yeah, it's brutal. The cars have to go out, so we have a very short period of time to work on them, and they come in with bad transmissions, half shafts, shocks, maybe on 3 wheels, and we turn them around and get them back out to compete. So it's been a lot of fun.
So it is some of the repairs done with a sledgehammer?
Oh yeah, that's my specialty actually.
Well, so we'll just we'll put 1-800 Sledgehammer next to your name, and then we'll be able to figure it all out.
Right. So there's a lot of good video of me swinging a hammer on some very expensive cars.
Well, if you're going to go out and race, and let's talk a little bit about what rally driving really is. Like you said, gravel, and is it on a track? Is it through the woods? What is it?
Okay, so rally is a kind of a broad term. It's automobiles on loose surfaces is kind of the broader sense. Gravel is gravel roads. A backcountry road would be the type of roads we travel on or we race on, and we train on also. And in the wintertime, they would be covered in snow, just like any backcountry road we would have all over the country or all over the world. And we have a facility up here in Dalton, New Hampshire, north of the Notches here, that we have about 6.5 miles of that type of road that we maintain, and about 70 cars and a bunch of instructors and mechanics and a whole group of us up here that run this program.
And tell us about the cars. What kind of cars get driven up there?
Okay, a typical car would be a street car of some sort, and there's some ubiquitous ones that we would use, whether it be the Subaru, the Audi, the Ford Fiesta, usually kind of an economy sedan, all-wheel drive, front-wheel drive, or wheel-wheel drive, your choice, depends on what you want to race. And then they're built up to be safe, durable, and perform and serviceable in this world. They have roll cages and racing seats and fire suppression system and belts and helmets and all that sort of stuff, and skid plates and special tires for working on the surfaces where we drive on. So that's the type of things that we would be racing on, and we train in very similar type vehicles.
And the pro rally circuit, those cars might look like a WRX, but those things can be like 800 horsepower, right?
Well, we're actually limited on our horsepower with restrictors because they can be 800 horsepower, and that would be an unsafe and unfair advantage for the big teams. So we have to make all of our power right now on the top teams through a 33 millimeter restrictor. So that really limits the horsepower down to about 300 horsepower, which is plenty for competitive sense, especially if everybody's on the same playing field.
I remember years ago, if you drove a car that was 300 horsepower, that was a lot. I mean, though today we're seeing, 700 and 800 horsepower coming out of more or less
Things
stock
have come
engines.
a long way, haven't they?
Yeah, they certainly have. The students that you get in the course, what's their level of experience?
We get people from all walks of life. We have a few different groupings that we get. We get the typical motorsports, motorhead, want to compete, want to get better at driving, and some people that have never actually driven manual transmission in that group, and some people that are actually involved in motorsports, whether it be circuit racing, and then we have a lot of people that just want to be better at driving. So we're all over the board in that manner, but we also have courses offered to people in the industry, whether they be building and designing cars in the manufacturer, engineers and test drivers, or the aftermarket. And then we also have an arm of security driving for people that use driving for work, whether it be military, police, or security people that have to drive in bad areas.
I remember
we're all
ago
over the board with our students.
Yeah, it was Tony Scotti was somebody I met years ago that provided all kinds of security. Scotti Driving School provided all kinds of classes for limo drivers and private drivers and things like that. And so it sounds like there's a big variety up there. We're here and there around the country we're starting to see private tracks that are sort of clubs out in Western Mass, up in upper state New York. Is there kind of a club aspect of this too? If you have whether it's a WRX or something else, is there a way that you can join and just be able to go up and drive?
Well, on our facility, the cars our training cars belong to us. And they're suited for our purpose. Mm-hmm. We do offer the property to a rally three times a year. They can come up and compete, but you have to follow all the rules of the rally, and that's outside of our business. We just offer the property for them to actually compete up here. But you would go on to the rally website and make sure your car is up to snuff as far as roll cage and so forth, and they have to be legal rally cars to do that sort of thing. As far as clubs go, there are like the rallycross, like autocross, is driving around in parking lots around cones. There's also circuits around the country that do rallycross, which is the same sort of thing, but on gravel and grass and snow or whatever the surface may be. So
I remember years ago, Ezra Dyer, who writes for Car and Driver and a variety of publications, his family owned a bunch of property up in Maine, and he decided he was going to try to get out there with a bobcat and a chainsaw and build his own rally course out in their property. I'm never quite sure how that really took off, but he was going to do it really mostly first.
It's really hard when you're starting with raw property because there's no road base, and it's a mushy mess. So our roads have got rock base, and then they've got gravel on top, and they've got crowns. So they're actually a lot like a gravel road that you would find up in the North Country or any part of the country that would be in the rural area. And so they are real roads.
Yeah. And one of the courses you offer is a how to drive in the winter course, right?
Yes, we have we call it the Winter Safe Driving course. We just finished one yesterday. We're doing one again on Tuesday with an industry, some people that service some of the power lines up here, and loggers use our course to get their drivers better at driving on the snowy roads. And we got 2 of those going on this week. So they're industry Winter Safe Driving class. It's a one-day thing that we do.
And that makes sense. Are any of the classes done for teamwork purposes, and I don't mean teamwork like rally driving, like a bunch of
No, yeah.
yeah.
We've had groups come up with they're doing bachelor parties, and that their boss buys them a day or 5 days or whatever of rally driving just to keep everybody sort of on together, and it's a great fun. I mean, it's really great.
Yeah. When it comes to driving in wintertime, and for the longest time I was joking but not joking, calling it the Volvo effect. Somebody has a Volvo all-wheel drive wagon and they think they can somehow beat the law of physics.
Oh yeah.
What is some tips for driving in wintertime? I've always said to people, keep in mind, your all-wheel drive vehicle will get you up the hill, but coming down the hill, they're all the same.
Yeah, physics still applies, and these cars now have a lot more horsepower. They've got really good suspension. They can accelerate really well, but we're still at the limits of what we can do for stopping. I mean, ABS and traction control and stability control can do a pretty good job of it, but if you're going too fast, it's just slowing down is going to be the answer. And we've also got a lot of driving aids that sort of take our skills away from us, this automatic braking and that sort of thing. People aren't looking up as far as they need to see what's going on in the down the road to react to what's going on. So that causes a lot of problems also. And the cars only go where you're looking. If you're not looking where you need to go, the car's not going to know any better.
And that I think that's one of the original sort of driving rules was look and steer where you want the car to go.
Yeah, that's really underappreciated. That's the biggest thing we do up here is we can teach the skills, we can teach the quality, and the students can get pretty good. But if they're not looking where they need the car to be, and it's really hard to do, it just won't perform. So it's like driving into the darkness. If you just can't see what's in there, you're not going to drive in there.
Yeah,
if your eyes aren't looking there.
Yeah, I had some. I was with a group of people one time, and I had someone argue with me that no, I don't have to really look where I'm going. And I said, well, what happens? And this happened to be a group of guys. And I said, what happens? You're driving down the road, and you see a pretty girl walking down the sidewalk, and you look over at her. Next thing you know, the car's almost up on the sidewalk. I said, your car follows your eyes.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Absolutely. I see it all the time, whether it be new drivers especially, because you find that a new driver is just looking down to the hood of the car. And then, of course, the road feels narrow to a new driver, so they move away from the center line when an oncoming car on a narrow road is coming, and that puts them off the high edge of the edge of road sort of thing. And then all of a sudden they overreact to leaving the edge of the road, and they skid across the road and onto oncoming traffic. It's a disaster.
Well, let's
an
talk
overreaction because they're not looking.
Let's talk about some of the things that might get you out of trouble. First off, one of the most important things you said is speed. You don't want to be driving too fast for the road conditions, right?
Right, absolutely.
And
so,
what happened?
And braking soon enough, and seeing what's going on with traffic is really going to help you to brake soon enough. So if you're following somebody and just kind of relying on their brake lights to illuminate, to warn you of trouble, you're not looking up far enough. So I try to look past the car ahead of me so I can get warning of trouble before I need to. And then when I do brake, I brake and I slow down. Of course, there's traffic behind you that can cause you a problem. So if I've got plenty of time to slow down, I pump my brakes so that my brake lights flash, so that the people that are mesmerized in traffic behind me can be possibly woken up by the fact that I'm slowing down. So things like that may keep me out of trouble, and I think they would be good ideas for everybody to practice. That makes sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And the idea of looking well ahead. I mean, if people out there, if they've ever seen a slow motion replay of a chain reaction crash, where it's one of those things where you see 40 cars smash into each other. If you looked at that, you'd see the lead car, all of a sudden the brake lights come on and be like brake light, brake light, brake light, and then everybody runs into each other. But if you were looking at that 40th car ahead, you would be well prepared to start to slow down and keep your car under control.
Oh yeah, for sure. No, absolutely. And of course, people have screens and phones, and they're doing whatever in their car, being distracted anyway. So that really detracts from that looking up ahead also. When you see somebody's eyes that are kind of averted away from the road looking at their screen, that's trouble just waiting to happen.
Yeah, because, what are you supposed to do when you're behind the wheel? Just drive. None of that other stuff, right?
Right,
Just drive.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And then we see that the stability control, traction control, and ABS, they're doing a real good job of getting people out of trouble. But they're not they're not going to get you out of everything, because if you're exceeding the limits of the ABS, it's just going to speed up, or it's not going to slow down very well. If you're exceeding the limits of traction control, it's not going to be able to do it. So if the better you are as a driver, the more that these oversight electronics are going to be able to help you.
Yeah, and if you're on a relatively dry road with decent traction and somebody jumps on the brakes in front of you, and you jump on your brakes, now all of a sudden you put all the weight on the front wheels, and it does give you better steering ability. But if you got nothing for the tires to stick to, jumping on the brake pedal isn't going to be a big help when it's snow and ice, right?
Well, you're at the limit of whatever your traction is. That's what ABS does. As young drivers in the old days, our instructors, our parents, whoever taught us to drive, taught us to pump the brakes. We didn't know why, did we, when we were learning? But that was basically so that we can turn and slow down at the same time. Well, that's what ABS does. But if you're releasing the brakes, you're not stopping to the maximum level that you could be. So the ABS actually is releasing brakes so that you can maneuver. If you can threshold brake, your best braking as hard as you possibly can without locking the wheels up, you might be able to beat the system.
Yeah, I remember going years ago. I went to Skip Barber maybe, and they had they had two identical BMWs, one with the relay pulled out for the ABS and one that the ABS worked. And with proper braking, you could actually beat the ABS system.
But people aren't getting used to sensitivity of proper braking because they can mash on the brakes and the electronics do it for them. Same thing with the stability control. If you got onto a skid in the old days, you'd have to counter steer, right? Now, when you get into a skid, it brakes one inside wheel, one outside wheel. It's the ABS, and it pulls you straight. But it can only fix that skid in relationship to where your steering is pointed. So if you counter steer in a stability control car, it may actually send you in the opposite direction. So you got to be careful with some of these systems because they might sort of, might be booby trap you a little bit.
A little bit, yeah. So what do you do? I'm going around a corner. I'm driving too fast. The roads are slippery. All of a sudden I start to, as I'm taking this corner that kind of goes to the left, the car starts to skid. What do I do?
Well, certainly before it skids, if you slow down beforehand, you're doing two things. You're taking some of the momentum away from the car, and by slowing down, you're transferring weight to the front end to help that steering, right? Whether it be braking before the turn or braking within the turn puts weight on the front end, or just lifting off the gas puts weight on the front end. And very naturally, that happens to people when they're driving on pavement. But if it does start to skid, depends on the type of skid. If it starts to understeer, that's when the car pushes or keeps going straight whether you turned. Maybe try to unwind the wheel a little bit or try to slow down before you go in. Understeer is a devastating thing because once it starts to go straight and the wheels are turned, there's really not a whole lot of recovery except for diminishing the amount of steering you give it. The other one is when the back end comes out, which would be an oversteer situation, or when a car is loose. If the back end comes out, that's when that countersteer becomes crucial, that you're counteracting the fact that the rear end is coming around. So certainly not jumping on the gas as it's starting to skid, whether understeer or oversteer. The countersteer is the only really thing you can do in the oversteer situation. Understeer, if you're braking too hard, release a little bit of brake. If you've got too much steering in, maybe reduce some of the steering. And certainly looking where you need the car to go is going to be your help there also.
I think, and I took this advice from somebody years ago, and I think I became, well, it depends if you ask my wife whether I became a better driver or not. But I've always made a habit of trying to look well up the roadway to see what's going on ahead. And the other thing is when I don't have my eyes on the road directly in front of me, I sort of have my foot already hovering over the brake pedal, knowing that if I look back and all of a sudden there's a car that's sort of stopped in front of me, I'm a little bit quicker on the brake if I need to because my foot's already there.
Right. Now, would that be your right foot or your left foot?
I'm a traditionalist, so I'm right foot, but yes.
Right. Well, that's how we learned, isn't it?
Yeah. And go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, I was going to say I remember one class I took years ago, and it was he was a driving instructor and did a bunch of stuff, including NASCAR, and it was sort of his thought was if things get bad. I've got to remember how it goes. When in doubt, both feet out. When in a spin, both feet in, because it's sort of if you're spinning out of control, jam on the brake pedal and hope for the best. But if you're not sure, don't be on the brake pedal because it could get you in trouble.
Well, we teach 2 feet driving with our left foot on the brake and our right foot on the gas because that left foot is actually a good resource for doing things, if nothing else, for a reaction. Coming off the gas and hitting the brake with one foot takes longer than coming off the gas and hitting your brake with with the left foot. So we've got reaction time. But when we're teaching the performance driving, we do teach left foot braking, but we typically don't teach it for the winter safe driving because it does take some time to master driving with 2 feet. So if anybody goes out there and tries to brake with their left foot, they're going to find that they jab the brake and it's very uncomfortable at first. So we do teach left foot braking, and there's a myriad of reasons that we left foot brake. But getting out of trouble, as long as you're not, locking the wheels up if you've got a conventional car, or braking as hard as you possibly can when it's skidding, maybe try to get to that threshold. Certainly not going for the gas when it's spinning or understeering is going to be a great answer.
Yeah, it really is, and I think the idea of what you've said throughout this conversation, it's all about using weight transfer, and people sometimes get a little confused, front wheel drive, rear wheel drive, but no matter what, when you take your foot off the accelerator, weight travels to the front.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's the other big thing of the school here is utilizing the weight transfer. Excuse me, while either braking or lifting off the gas, and even steering transfers weight to the outside of the front of the car. Now, keep in mind, where does that weight come from when it transfers to the front?
Yeah, it comes from the
rear.
back.
Comes from the rear, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So when we put weight on the front, the back end gets a little lighter. So as the front end turns in, the back end could get loose or oversteer at that point. So the fact that you're using weight transfer, we transition from safe driving or winter driving into performance driving using that weight transfer all the way up to the top teams.
Yeah, I remember years ago I had the opportunity to drive on a track with a professional driver, and we were going pretty fast, and it was a sports car, and he's like, yeah, up on this turn here, this is where you want to start to slow down. And I just took my foot off the accelerator, and he screamed at me like, no, that's what causes the car to skid because we're doing 150 miles an hour and you're going downhill.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So,
So one of the things that people get into trouble with is back to winter driving. We're up in New Hampshire here, driving up through the Franconia Notch or whatever, and there's snow. And when the lanes open up to 2 lanes, everybody wants to pass, but there's only one lane really that's plowed, and everybody's in a line. So you jump out of that passing lane, and it's snow covered, so it's slippery. You're going downhill, so you want to go faster, and it's really a bit of a problem because all the weight's on the front end anyway because you're facing downhill. And gravity is pulling you down, so it's harder to slow down. You lift off the gas or you brake, and all of a sudden the car comes around. So I try to make all my passes in the wintertime as I'm going uphill and not within a turn. So I'm gonna actually be cautious when I'm on these snowy roads where I actually put the car, because that causes you a lot of problems also, especially going down slippery, icy, snowy roads.
Yeah,
Downhill's a big problem.
Absolutely. If people want to find out more information about Team O'Neill, maybe they want to become a rally driver, maybe they want to just sharpen their skills, maybe they just want to come up and have fun, how do they do that?
Well, you can call us here at Team O'Neill Rally School, O''Neil, up here in Dalton, New Hampshire, or go jump on our website and talk to Carl in the office, and he'll set you up with a course. You can go on our website and check out what's available. But yeah, we have all kinds of offerings. We're all over the place. We do have pavement driving. We do have a drift school. We do have off-road driving programs, and then we have our core of loose surface driving on gravel, snow, and loose surfaces.
Is there an age that's better acclimated to learning new skills? Or yes. Young people are going to learn a little bit better, especially if they don't have a lot of experience. The people that come from asphalt driving really struggle because they've got such habits, old habits and instincts. So we find that, so some people that don't have a lot of automobile skills actually do a pretty good job if they're not too timid to slide the car around. But any age is great. We have young and old. We have really young and we have really old come up here. We teach people how to drive manual transmission. We have all kinds of programs that help that. But just having an open mind, when we go through the rally school, we've got to sort of think outside the box of what we're used to driving on the street, on the grippy surface. That's where it really differs. And the drift school, I mean, drifting, got popular, I don't know, 15 years ago maybe.
Yeah.
And maybe it's a generational thing. At first I'm like, I don't really get it. What's the point of, skidding around in circles until I sort of tried it once, and then it was like, ooh, this is kind of fun.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's not part of my program. I'm not part of the drift program, but people love it immensely. I mean, we have a great following on the drift program, and we actually do have a track that we use to do asphalt driving too. But yeah, I mean, everybody's got an idea what they want to do in a car, really. Yeah,
no, and it sounds like if you're if you're somebody out there looking for the ultimate birthday present, or I don't know, Father's Day gift or Mother's Day gift, maybe a 2 or 3 day school might be a really good, fun thing to do. Yeah.
It happens all the time. We've have people here all the time that have been saving up for their partner's birthday or whatever all the time.
No,
it's a very nice birthday gift for the automotive enthusiast.
Yeah.
We take very good care of our people.
Yeah. No, my wife many years ago sent me to Skip Barber School, just a 2-day school down there, or a 3-day school, whatever it was. And it was expensive, but it was fun.
Oh, yeah.
And I learned a lot, and it was a good time. So if people want more information, teamoneil.com is the website.
Yep.
You can find out everything on there, look at the prices, look at the different options that are there. Chris, I want to thank you for taking a little time out of your Sunday morning and go out and slide around sideways for a bit.
All right, all the time. Almost
all right.
every day.
Thanks, Chris.
Super duper. Thank you so much.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Cheers. Bye.
That was Chris Komar. He is one of the instructors at the Team O'Neil Rally School. Sounds like a lot of fun. Sounds like a good way to learn and enjoy yourself. And, the idea that you can go out and I'm looking at their website now. The Subarus, there's Mustangs, there's Ford Fiestas, there's Toyota pickup trucks, a variety of different vehicles with the Team O'Neil logo on the windshield. Why don't we take a break, pay some bills? If you want to join us, and I hope you will, 781-837-4900, 781-837-4900. If you have a question about your car or anything to do with automobiles, give us a call at 781-837-4900. You're listening to the Car Doctor program on 95.9 WATD. We'll be right back.
Even car geeks and do-it-yourselfers rely on AAA to give them extra peace of mind on the road. AAA offers 24/7 roadside assistance, whether you're in your own vehicle, a friend's car, or even a rental. Combine that with great rates on insurance, hotel, gas, and dining savings, and discounts on 8,700 brands, and you're covered on and off the road. Get a special membership offer today at aaa.com/join. That's aaa.com/join. The Start Something New sales event is going on right now at Quirk Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram on Route 139 in Marshfield. Quirk Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram is one of the largest dealerships of its kind in New England, featuring incredible discounts on the brand new 2025 Ram ProMaster Cargo Van. Save up to $8,500. Quirk Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram is accessible from all across the South Shore, just off Route 3 at the new Exit 27.
Quirk works to save you money. Quirk works for you.
Visit QuirkChryslerDodgeJeepRam.com.
Won't you
step into the light.
Hi, I'm Dan Chauvin. Step into the light and tune into Twilight Showcase Radio, hosted by Sandy Stride and Keith James on 95.9 WATD and 95.9WATD.com. Search for Twilight Showcase on Facebook and visit twilightshowcase.org.
Twilight Showcase, tonight from 8 to 10 on 95.9 WATD. Make an appointment Sunday morning at 11 for John Paul, the Car Doctor, on 95.9 WATD. Now, back to the Car Doctor.
And welcome back to the Car Doctor program. Our phone number is 781-837-4900. Let's talk to our buddy Tom from Kingston. Tom, good morning.
How are you?
I'm all right. How about you?
Doing good, thank you. Hey, remember I talked to you about that website Pebble?
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Pedal. Yep. I had a lady friend of ours was getting rid of a 2007 Honda CRV, and it needed brakes and something with the gas tank, whatever it was, but she didn't want it anymore, so she called Everett's. Everett says if she brings it in, she'll get $300. She says, what if you come pick it up? Because she's in Middleborough.
Yeah.
$300. It's still $300.
Okay.
So she says, Tom, if you want, you can have it. And I said, well, let me make a phone call, get back to you. I looked into Pedal. Pedal offered her $1,360.
Wow.
$1,360. And I says, I'm going to make you some money. It's better than $300.
Yeah. and $300 for just salvage is a pretty decent price, which means that it's kind of funny. I was just talking to a neighbor who he has a little sort of recycling business. He works, or he worked for years, worked for an air conditioner company, and he retired. But what he does is he takes all their old units and he disassembles them and, scraps the copper for this, the aluminum for this. And he said steel right now is 3 cents a pound. Oh, so, the idea that, $300 for a CRV that's going to be, and maybe it's got enough pieces and parts in it to make it all worthwhile. But, once they take all the good stuff out, they're left with the shell, which is apparently only worth 3 cents a pound. So, it's one of those things. But yeah, I actually, based on our conversation before with Pedal, I actually used that in a newspaper column somewhere along the line in the last week or two, because I had never heard of it till you talked about it. And then, I looked and I'm like, pretty amazing.
And here's the funny thing. Guess who came down to Middleborough, down to, what do they call it, Oak Point?
Yep.
And
I'm guessing it was probably Everett's.
Everett's.
Yep.
And they gave her a check for, I forget how it was. One was a check and some cash.
Wow.
So that was nice.
I wonder if they did that because they get some piece of it and the other company gets some. I wonder how that works.
I don't know.
Yeah. But the idea, but she ended up with a total of $1,200, right? $1,250. 13, yeah.
60 or something like that. How do you come up with that? Of course, you see all the questions they ask you on the web. Does it have all glass? Is there any dents? Is it good air in the tires? Things like that. But
is there a tree? Is there a tree growing out from the hood?
Yeah.
I
see that on the different auto shows on TV.
Yeah.
Was it the? What's that show you and I talked about?
Oh, Vice Grip Garage, that guy?
Yeah.
Where he where he drags stuff out of the woods and somehow gets them going and somehow manages to drive 1,500 miles home.
Yeah, exactly.
I've actually reached out to him a couple of times to try to get him on this program, but I guess he always jokes on his program that he works like 11 days a week. And he is essentially what appears to be a one-man band. He's usually filming his own stuff, and I guess he's done. Really? He edits, and then he goes out, and and he does what's kind of amazing is he does all his. It looks like all of the video is done with an iPhone, which is even more amazing. But
you ain't kidding.
Yeah. No,
it's videos I see with an iPhone. It's like, why am I even watching this?
Yeah, no. If you look and you see him like walking by a car, he's holding an iPhone as he's walking, and that's most of the video. And I guess he sets it up on a tripod when he's, a little bit away from it. But, as opposed to, some other show I was watching, and it was, a one-person kind of show, but they had 3 different cameras set up, plus I think they had a camera on their head to get in close. So there was a lot of video editing going on, and the idea that somehow, Derek seems to be able to keep me entertained for, an hour and a half, 2 hours, some of his videos. And everything he does goes against everything that, the YouTube people will tell you that, YouTube videos should only be 20 minutes long. Some of his are almost 3 hours long.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So
I'll have to check that out a little deeper.
But I always because it's winter, it's the winter season, his aren't quite as good because, the idea of going out and dragging something out of the middle of a snowy field probably isn't a whole lot of fun. But so he's been fixing a lot of his own things, and he the most recent one as part of and I guess this is what YouTube people do, buy a T-shirt and you'll be entered in to win a contest. And he had a 71 Nova that was posted. It was a replica of a Yanko Nova, the high performance version, and they had a contest where you entered, and then I guess that the small print said you didn't really have to buy anything, but people bought a T-shirt, a hat, or whatever, and sunglasses or something, and a guy in New Jersey bought it, and a guy in New Jersey won it, and he drove this Nova that basically had not really been driven after he did some engine work and some other stuff to it, and got in and drove it up to New Jersey, and gave it to the guy, and also handed him a check for $15,000. So,
wow,
which is, I guess, what some of these other YouTubers doing the same thing. Mike Finnegan's Garage. There, he gave a car away. I think David Freiberger gave a car away. So I guess that's one of the ways you get your viewership up, is give stuff away. So
sure,
yeah, I got nothing. I got nothing to give away.
Well, you did for many years.
For many years I did, and part of it, I'll be honest, part of it is just if somebody does send me something,
Sure.
I used to sort of cheat a little bit and bring it to work and drop it in the post, drop it in the mail department, and you mail a book out, and it. And not to say that you wouldn't be worth spending $25 to mail a book to you, but when it comes out of my pocket, I feel a little different about it.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Yeah,
Hey, Greg, quick question.
Sure.
I got a 2019 Toyota Sienna.
Yep.
Van. I'm getting conflicted messages as far as what size wiper blades should I get for the front.
Really?
Yes.
You mean not
like
just
two different sizes, like a 24 and a 27. I'm sorry, 27 and a 24. And you go to another site and it shows you both the same. What should be on there?
That's a good question. Is it all-wheel drive or front-wheel drive?
Front.
Let's see if it actually says. Hang on. Let's see.
This would be great.
I may come up with nothing, but let's see.
Out of that 1360, my wife and I end up getting Chinese food. We met them for a place over by Halifax where Walmart is.
Yeah.
A little Chinese place there, so we got some Chinese food out of it.
Well, I will say that's one of the things that I miss being in Florida. There is no good Chinese restaurants, but
yeah, it's tough down there. But I don't know if you've ever been in a place. I think it's somewhere near Orlando. There's the Boston Seafood.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
and it's delicious.
Well,
Mom and Dad took us over there, and it was nice. So you get good seafood there, as far as like you would if you went down to Plymouth Woods or one of those other places.
Yeah. No, where I am, there is actually a couple of decent seafood places, and one of them is, and I think most of them are originally from New England. So,
nice.
Yeah. So, it's as I'm looking up wiper blades, because I am not seeing anything that says what size they are. Let's see.
Weird?
Yeah, I mean, I looked it up by part number and the factory part number, and I expected it to say this is a, this size wiper blade, but it never actually said that. I mean, the part number is a long involved part number, but if you want it, I'll give you the factory part number. You can
No,
kind
all
of.
I want is what size is it?
Yeah, yeah, you would think that would be easy to do, and the left and right are two different part numbers.
So you
and if
assume they're not the same size.
Yeah, yeah. So, and if you bought them from Toyota, they'd be $30 a piece.
Plus installation.
Yeah, yeah.
Exactly.
So,
yeah,
because when I front wiper blade, it just says let's see, doesn't ever say what size it is. So.
And you would think I had trouble with Michelin, even going on, was it Facebook?
Yeah.
Michelin had an advertisement there for blades, and went on there and see if I could get it. And it's like tough to get the information.
Yeah. No, I mean I can. The
bring back Lappins. It happens at Lappins.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah, he's. Let's see. Now I'm looking. Now you got me looking at Amazon, which isn't helping me either. So,
Amazon is in everything. Remember the days Amazon was only selling books?
I do, and they made no money, which is kind of the funny part.
Yeah, a buddy of mine would go around to the yard sales, like on 2-3 o'clock in the afternoon, buy boxes of books.
Yep.
And take his phone, scan them, and put them on Amazon. He'd make money on that.
Yeah. No, I know. I know somebody who's written several books, and some of them were in his name, and some were not. He wrote some of the dummies books, eBay for dummies and this kind of stuff, and he would I joked with him that I said you probably make more money selling your books on Amazon than Amazon did, because at the time Amazon weren't making a nickel. But then they decided to get into every business under the sun, and there you go.
Including now they can get medication, you can get doctor's visits.
Yeah. I'm
crazy.
a piece of our stove broke, and it was way easier trying to find that piece online than it was trying to find a appliance store that had parts in stock. And and I'm not an Amazon Prime member, and I went online, and it was 4 days later the thing shows up in the mail.
Did you get it free?
The shipping was free. Yeah. So
because you get options as far as where your shipping want to be. You want it tomorrow, then you pay the $6.95 or whatever it is.
Yeah. No, it was it was one of those things that it just showed up. I'm still looking up wiper blades, by the way. So,
well, I'm glad you don't work for AutoZone. If you would have been,
I know. Geez, yeah.
Well, if you find it, yell it out on the radio.
Otherwise, because
I hope you have a good week.
Well, it says the Bosch one at Rock Auto says it's 28 inches.
Okay, for both sides.
No, just on the driver's side.
Yeah, I want to get a 16 on the passenger.
Let's see. So, and I'm thinking they're relatively accurate. Let's see. On the right side, why would it not want to tell me that? Yeah, I don't think I do good. I don't think I do good at.
Do what you do well.
Yeah, it says the Anco ones say the driver's side is 28 inches and the passenger side is 20 inches.
20 inch, okay.
Yeah, so 20 and 28 is what it says here.
I'll give it a shot and see what happens.
There you go.
All right, listen, have a good
and you can, and if you don't want to buy those $30 factory Toyota ones, the Anco ones are apparently $3 a piece, which I would recommend spending a little bit more money than that. So
yes,
I do like a good quality wiper blade that that doesn't squeak and make noise and do all kinds of stuff. So
Yeah, and leave all kinds of marks on your
yeah,
windshield.
yeah. No, I tend to try to buy good wiper blades. I've been accused of being cheap, but when it comes to wiper blades, I try to buy better ones.
It's no longer cheap. It's being frugal.
No, people call me. I believe the term was legendary cheapskate by Craig Fitzgerald, who writes for a number of publications. He quoted me as called me a legendary cheapskate. So I don't know. I don't know that that's really true. But yeah.
No.
All right.
All right.
Hey,
listen,
always a
good week.
pleasure talking to you. Take care. Bye-bye. Why don't we take another break, pay some bills? My name's John Paul. This is the Car Doctor program. Our phones are open at 781-837-4900. You're listening to the Car Doctor program on 95.9 WATD. We'll be right back.
Now through January 31st, VIP Tires and Service in Hanover has an incredible deal. Get 50% off any non-diesel Valvoline Premium Synthetic Oil Change, plus a free tire rotation. Best of all oil change proceeds benefit Hanover Public Schools. That's 50% off a Valvoline Premium Synthetic Oil Change, a free tire rotation, and we donate every dollar from oil changes to Hanover Schools. Find us at 2144 Washington Street. For all things automotive, turn to VIP.
Even car geeks and do-it-yourselfers rely on AAA to give them extra peace of mind on the road. AAA offers 24/7 roadside assistance, whether you're in your own vehicle, a friend's car, or even a rental. Combine that with great rates on insurance, hotel, gas, and dining savings, and discounts on 8,700 brands, and you're covered on and off the road. Get a special membership offer today at AAA.com/join. That's AAA.com/join.
Hey there, folks. It's Quinn Kelly reminding you to tune in Sunday night at 5 for the South Shore's first voice in sports talk radio, The Sports Exchange. Unmatched coverage of local high school action as well as a relatable voice on all things Boston Pro Sports. We've got you covered live at 5 every Sunday night. Have a question for our host, missed last week's show, or just want to share a great sports story? You can find us on Twitter at SE on WATD. But remember, mark your calendar, folks, and we'll see you Sunday night at 5 for the Sports Exchange on 95.9 WATD.
Make an appointment Sunday morning at 11 for John Paul, the Car Doctor, on 95.9 WATD. Now, back to the Car Doctor.
And welcome back to the Car Doctor program. You're listening to 95.9 WATD. Let's talk to Mike from Revere Beach. Michael.
Yes. Good morning, Doctor.
Good morning.
I have an issue. I'd like your advice.
All right.
Recently, just a Mercedes E450 sedan.
Yeah.
Within the last couple of years, and I have a complaint about the bolsters on the seats. They're not adjustable, which makes for an uncomfortable ride, if you will. They're too narrow.
Are you? I don't know how to say this. Are you a bigger fella?
That I am. About 210.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And when you for long periods of extended trips, I think it was really uncomfortable. Say a trip back down to Florida, back and forth as I used to with my Toyota. But Jesus, I can't find a solution. The car's a great car. No complaints. Being my fifth or sixth Mercedes, first new one, and I really like the car, and I endorsed the product. Been driving them for years. But Jesus, these seats seem to be in every vehicle made in the country.
And there's no adjustment. There's no adjustment on those side bolsters.
No, not if it's.
No,
they said
not on that
had
one.
I ordered the massaging seat at $1,800, there would be, but
right.
I only ordered the regular heated seat.
Yeah.
But,
no, I kind of have the same problem. I mean, European cars put higher bolstered seats in because apparently they think everybody drives on the Autobahn and drives 150 miles an hour. And it's just not the case. And maybe some of it has to do with safety. Maybe the additional bolstering, if you get in a side crash, helps keep your ribs and
keep
stuff
in the seat.
But yeah, I mean, I remember I think I was in a BMW or something a couple of years ago, and my wife was like, "God, these seats are uncomfortable. They feel like they're trying to squish me." And that one, that particular car, the driver's side was adjustable, but the passenger side wasn't, and it was overly bolstered, and the lumbar support was also cranked up quite a bit too. And it's like there's just way too much going on in that seat, and it's probably like you said, you if you got the massage function, which to me is the dumbest thing in the world anyway. But
really,
yeah. Well, I the last thing I want is a massage from my seats, which isn't really a massage.
I'm driving.
Yeah. So no, nothing I really want. But the idea you get more adjustment. And I got to tell you, I mean, I drive a basic car. I think it has 3 seat adjustments: forward, backwards,
fine,
up
perfect.
And down, and the back leans. And that's more than that's. And well, I guess it has lumbar, but that's more than enough adjustments. I'm happy with it. It's.
Really? Really?
The idea that I think I was in a Lincoln one time, and it bragged about the 21 adjustments in the seat, and I'm like, well, that's like 19 adjustments more than I want.
I agree.
Yeah, short of going to an upholstery shop and seeing if they can take some of the padding out of the seat and then tighten up the seat cover afterwards, I think you're stuck with it.
Yeah, I'm afraid you're right.
Yeah.
If I wanted race car seats, I would have bought a Corvette or a race car.
There you go.
And I bought a luxury car, and I didn't anticipate race car seats in a sedan, nonetheless.
Well, yeah,
Everybody wants to drive a race car.
Mercedes, they're luxury cars, but they're also designed to, hold the road and deliver good performance, and they
over-engineer everything, God bless the Germans, but it's a good product to say the least.
Yep. No, good choice.
Okay, Doc.
Okay, Mike. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much for your time.
All right. You as well. Bye-bye. Our phone number again, 781-837-4900. If you want to chat about your car, we have a couple minutes left of the program, and This was a question I got this morning, and I'm reading it, and I turned it into a question on my column, and I'm kind of reading it out loud because when I wrote it, it seemed to have a problem that I need an editor for. But I recently purchased an electric car, a Genesis GV60. I really like it. I'm concerned about the extreme winter cold and reduced driving range. I must admit I still have some anxiety about running out of electricity. Also, what do you think of the car? You're correct. Freezing weather can affect range in an electric car more than a gasoline car. To maximize range, unless instructed not to, park in a garage to recharge. There are some recalls that say don't park in the garage. Depending on the heater design, you may find that using the heated seats and steering wheel has less of an effect on range than the car's heater. Some electric cars use resistance-style heaters, like an electric coil. Some of them actually use a heat pump that takes heat from the engine motor, rather, and can generate heat. They don't use as much electricity. They tend to work a little bit better, but sometimes just turning the electric seats on and turning the steering wheel heater on can make a difference. Also, just like an electric car, weight can add it. So if take all the snow and ice off the car, that will help. I also found that when I drove that particular model, I charged it one time at a level 3 high-speed charging station. It charged it up to like 90% in 25 minutes. Then I plugged it in at home at a 110-volt outlet, which took forever to recharge it. But it was pretty much, I shouldn't say that. It was probably 70% charged. I plugged it in. The next day it was 100% charged. And it really, that low-speed charging bumped the mileage, the range up to 335 miles, which 335 miles is a pretty good range. And I think the car only bragged about 290 or 95 miles. So it did pretty good. So, if you are concerned about charging, if you have the option to charge slow, you may find you get maximum range, so you'll have less range anxiety. And now we're starting to see more and more places where you can charge faster, mall parking lots, things like that can really help. So, there shouldn't be any real reason for real serious range range anxiety. And this question comes from an answer from somebody we had on the program a few weeks ago. I live in the country. I have a Ford Mustang I keep in a barn. It's an old barn, and it has its share of rodents. I've tried traps, repellents, dryer sheets, Irish Spring soap, and still have evidence of rodents, mice, and perhaps sometimes rats. I read one of your older columns. You recommend a barn owl. You were probably joking. Probably. Although it's I think, going back to Vice Grip Garage Guy, Derek has 2 cats that he keeps in his big service barn to try to keep the mice at a minimum. So maybe get a cat. I don't know. But start with removing any food. If you have pet food, animal feed, bird food, get all that stuff out of there. Try to block any holes with steel wool or spray foam, even cement, hydraulic cement. If there's some rot in the foundation of the barn or any of the ledger boards or something, just fill it full of cement. They'll just block them. I had the folks from Cover Seal on the program, and they're the ones that have the weighted car cover. It has an apron that goes around the car cover, goes all the way to the ground, and it prevents rodents from sticking their nose under there and climbing up into the car. So, something like that might help. The car we keep down here has every warning light on it, and I thought maybe rodents got into that over the summertime and during the flood. The hurricane floods we had, I got under there and pulled the metal belly pan off, which was a bit of a challenge because me and the car up on ramps, there still wasn't a lot of room. Volkswagen, in its wisdom, puts triple square fasteners on, which sort of it looks like a 4-sided thing stacked on top of each other 3 times. And it had 8 on the front and back, and had another 10 on the sides. So a lot of taking stuff off to get out under there to look underneath the car. Didn't see any evidence of anything. Went and pulled the side panel off, the kick panel off, where all the ground wires attached for all the computer systems. There's 5 ground wires. Clean those up, put it back together. Still wasn't the issue. I still think there's a communication problem, and I have a wheel sensor on order because I did see that drop out once while I was driving it. Maybe limited tools, limited ability to get in and under the car was a little bit of a problem, but we're going to go with the wheel sensor and see what happens. So there you go. There's my story. Hopefully next week I'll tell you all the warning lights are out. So until next week, well, first off, stay warm this week, and if it's snowing, stay in. You don't need to be out. Until next week, make sure you wear your seatbelt, drive safely, be good to your car, and if you see an emergency vehicle by the side of the road, slow down or move over. It saves lives. Talk to you all next week. Bye-bye.